rich man wore a mask for 150 years. By the time he took it off, he found the world had changed and he had been dead for years. David woke up from his bed. When he washed up, he found that he had a white hair on his head. After that, he drove his Ferrari to work, but after driving for a long time, there was no one in the street. He panicked and rushed to get out of the car. He kept running on the road. Suddenly, he woke up again. It turned out that what just happened was a dream. This time he woke up with Julie, who had spent the night with him last night, was still there. The next thing he knew, he was leaving for work. On the way, he met his friend Brian. When he arrived at the office, because he was too late, the 7 directors didn't give him a good look. He owns 3 magazines and a publishing house. His parents were killed in a car accident 5 years ago, so the family business was passed on to him. For this reason, he became a billionaire at a young age. Then the psychiatrist suddenly said to him, "You have to tell me something useful. You've been accused of murder and disfigured." David was very impatient in his mask and says he didn't kill anyone. Someone must have set him up. The doctor waved his hand and asked you to go on. David said he was having a birthday party that night. He met a girl, Sofia. He only took one look at her. He took one look at her and was smitten. David thought she might be the last innocent girl in New York, so he tried everything he could to woo her. But a few days later, Julie approached David again. She wanted to catch up with him, so David couldn't resist the temptation to get into her car. But then she went crazy. She wanted to die with David. She drove the car straight off the bridge. Julie was killed instantly. David's arm and leg were injured. Most importantly, he was disfigured. The doctors implanted 30 steel nails in his head in order to shape him up. The nails affected his ability to think. He had headaches every day, so he asked the doctors to invent a better way of plastic surgery. But the doctors couldn't come up with one for a while, so they made a mask for him. He said it would move with his face. After some more time, David's mood calmed down. He found Sofia and asked her to go out for the weekend. That night he came to the bar with the mask. He found that Ryan had come with him. David was not feeling well, so he spends the night numbing himself with alcohol. Afterwards, he gets drunk and tells Sofia he wants to start over with her, but she says, "I'll see you in another life as a cat." David was hurt. He knows he made a mistake and shouldn't have gotten into Julie's car, but he paid the price for it. But the next day he woke up on the street. He woke up on the street the next day and saw Sofia standing right in front of him. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't even tell if he was dreaming or not. Sofia said she'd forgiven him. The most important thing now is for David to get his act together. The doctor came to see David again. He kept drawing Sofia's portrait on paper. A rich man accused of murder is wearing a mask because of his disfigurement. The doctor tried to get him to take off the mask and told him that your face was already cured. You just can't believe it yet. David recalls the day his doctor came to him and said he had a plastic surgeon from Berlin who could fix his face back to the way it was before. David's face was restored and he became more confident, and his relationship with Sofia got even better. But one night he woke up and found that it was not Sofia but Julie who was sleeping next to him. But she kept saying that she was Sofia. David didn't believe her and tied her up. Then he called the police, but he didn't expect the police to arrest him for domestic violence. Even his lawyer told him that he had beaten Sofia beyond recognition. David couldn't believe it. He didn't do this. That woman was Julie. The lawyer tapped him on the shoulder and told him to leave the station. When he came out, Ryan was waiting for him outside. He strongly condemned David's violence against Sofia. Ryan had fallen out with David over the incident. David was confused. The woman was obviously Julie. Why does everyone say she's Sofia? He went to a tavern alone to take his mind off things. He met a man by accident. He said to David that we had signed an agreement. The world is all a figment of your imagination. You can control everything if you want to. David says, "I want everyone else to shut up, especially you." The next thing you know, everyone else in the tavern is silent, and they were all looking over at him. The man said, "Did you see that?" David panicked. He continued, "We had a contract." So David immediately ran home to find that contract, and there was Sofia at home. She said she had forgiven David to make up and get entangled. But suddenly Sofia's face changed to that of her dead ex-girlfriend Julie. David was shocked. In a panic, he grabbed the pillow next to her and put it over her head. But in the end, he realized it turned out that the person was really Sofia. Now David finally knew his crime. He killed Sofia. The doctor got his answer. He said there was nothing he could do. After the doctor left, David saw the TV report about the company life extension. He seemed to remember something, so he asked the doctor to take him to that company. The executive there said something to him. It reminded David of the contract he had signed after he escaped from the company. "I want to wake up," he shouted. So the man found him again. That's when he formally introduced introduced himself. He was a technician for life extension. He had met with David 150 years ago. David had promised to freeze himself, and while frozen to create a dream world for himself, the world he is in now. David asked him when he started dreaming. The man said, "Do you remember the bar that day? You went back alone the next morning. You took over the board of directors and took back the company. Sofia never appeared in your life again. That's when you came to us and signed the freezing agreement." The man said you were now faced with two choices. One is to continue to dream and live with the person you love. The other is to go back to the real world. Your face and body will return to the way they were before, but the outside world has changed so much, and Sofia is long dead. David replied, "So I killed one person, and that was myself." The man said yes. David wanted to go back to the real world. He didn't want to stay in the dream world. Then Sofia appeared in front of him. David said to her, "Wait until the next life. Let's meet again as a cat." After saying that, he jumped into the real world. After a while he woke up. David came back to the real world.